Good evening, you're watching Left, Right and Centre. I'm Nidhi Razdan. Tonight, Mumbai sees an 11% jump in its voter turnout today, though it's still at just 52%, less than Delhi, Chennai and Bangalore. What does the voting pattern in India's financial capital indicate? Is it the impact of AAP or is it a Modi wave? Could Mumbai have done better? Also tonight, as Priyanka Gandhi Vadra steps up the attack on Narendra Modi, is this now a Priyanka versus Modi battle? But first, let's bring you the latest on the voter turnouts that the Election Commission has just released today. There were 11 states that went to the polls today, 117 constituencies. Overall, it's been very brisk voting across the country, up significantly from last time. But when we look at the four metros now, because Mumbai and Chennai voted today, you can see the difference from the last election. Mumbai, the average turnout 52%, up 11% from last time. So many would say that's a respectable number, but not quite something to be proud of, because it's still less than Bangalore at 54%. Bangalore also not very happy with that voter turnout. Many there expected much more. We were there last week and you could see the disappointment in those groups that had actively campaigned to try and get more people to come out and vote. The really respectable figures coming in from Chennai, for instance, 61%, and Delhi, that of course recorded a huge jump of 14% to settle at 65 in the Lok Sabha polls. That's after a terrific turnout in the assembly elections. But it's not just the four metros. I think the story of Mumbai today is being talked about significantly because it seemed to start off very slowly, barely some 30% voting taking place until lunchtime today. Clearly things picked up later in the day. But when you look at the voter turnout figures in other parts of the country, you would be amazed. You know, West Bengal has polled more than 80% today. Tamil Nadu is inching close to the 80% mark. Places like Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh, which also have to face the brunt of Maoist violence, their voter turnouts are more than 60%. So that is why the Mumbai story is a big focus. A city which saw its worst ever turnout in the last election at barely 41-42%. Today at least showing a jump of 11%. My colleague Tejas Mehta now joins us from Mumbai with more on that big story. Tejas, very interesting because you can see online a fierce debate currently underway. There are many Mumbaikars who feel that while this is respectable, it's crossed 50%, they're not very proud of the 52% number either.
Well, I think I have each foot in, on either side of the debate, because yes, one does feel happy, at least, from that shameful number of 22% in South Mumbai at 2 p.m. At least we have reached in South Mumbai now 54%, which is absolutely remarkable given the fact that South Mumbai is typically known to be, absolutely apolitical in that sense, apathetic. They never vote, never come out. Malabar Hill, for example, Valkeshwar, for years we have seen their turnouts have been very, very poor. And therefore, this jump, it is at the end of the day, there is some sense of relief. It's not as shameful as it was earlier. But yes, when you talk about other states, when you talk about Chennai, for example, above 60%, I mean, Mumbai has a long way to go. Certainly, maybe by the next election we'll reach another 10-digit jump. Perhaps that's the only way perhaps things will improve. But it is in a sense, Mumbai is largely known to be a apolitical city in that sense. We don't have that sense of connect with politicians here. Many of them are from are not from the city itself. Many migrants in the city. That's also another argument which observers or analysts have really given. So there are many reasons. One, it's difficult to say why Mumbai really doesn't come out and vote, but one can at least say be happy for the fact that there has been a significant improvement of 11%, and that could, Nidhi, let's look at it politically now, because if it was what we were thinking earlier, somewhere around 40%, then that would have meant that the anti-incumbency at the centre, which is about 10 years, and here at the state it's 15 years, the Congress and the NCP have been together, and that would have meant that it hasn't really made any impact on the voters here. They have carried on, in spite of the fact that Mumbai is, is overburdened with a lot of issues, especially regarding transportation, traffic, overcrowded trains. Every day, 10 people die on the tracks itself. So there are certainly a lot of issues, and therefore the worry was that in spite of all of this, is Mumbai still not voting? What's the problem? So that has really been taken care of in the sense, yes, people are concerned in a certain sense, and therefore the worry for the Congress and the NCP would mean that a higher voter turnout could
Is
mean
this an
it's
anti-incumbency
a vote
vote?
against anti-incumbency. So
yeah, Tejas, just a quick question to you on. We're looking at the pictures there of the big celebrities from Mumbai who voted today. That was another interesting debate because there was a lot of criticism at the beginning of the day that many film stars had chosen to fly out to an awards event in the United States and were not here. Whereas, you do see a number of leading Bollywood personalities who did stay here and who did cast their vote, which is also encouraging to see.
well, certainly it's nobody's argument that Bollywood not being present has, really decreased the voter turnout. So that's nobody's argument. But the larger, point really is that many of the personalities are people who, take part in all these events. They are, in a sense, social activists. Javed Akhtar, for example, is a Rajya Sabha MP, and therefore it would have been much better if they had really come out in the open, voted. You had Prasoon Joshi, lyricist, who was quite vocal, in fact, saying, for me, I too have to go to the IFA at Florida, but I have taken a longer flight. I'm going to stay overnight in New York, but I will reach just in time. But at the end of the day, I'm ensuring that I am voting. For me, the nation comes first. Everything else comes later. Now, for the stars, they are saying they've got a contract. We are legally bound, and we cannot really at the last moment change things because the voting has come, the dates regarding the voting have come in actually much later.
All right, Tejas Mehta, thanks very much for that update there from Mumbai. So the voter turnout in Mumbai, in India's financial capital, 52%. Is that a respectable number? Is that something that Mumbai should be proud of? Or should it have been much higher, especially when you look at the other metros and the other big cities in this country? Let me take that question first to Meera Sanyal, the AAP candidate from South Mumbai. Ms. Sanyal, you must be pretty happy today because it's been a very good turnout in South Mumbai, much better than last time, up from 40% to about 55%. And I'm sure you seem to think that would be something going in your favor.
Well, Nidhi, I'm really happy that the turnout picked out. I was out on the booths from 7 o'clock in the morning. And what I do want to say is that I think one of the reasons for the good turnout is that finally Mumbai has a chance, as an option, to vote for a better party, to vote for a better candidate. And to vote, in fact, for 6 better candidates. So I think the AAP factor certainly has played a role. But I do want to say that there were several booths, as I was, crisscrossing the city, where large number of voters have been deleted from the list. And in many booths, it was almost a riot where people were saying, listen, entire buildings have vanished, entire families have vanished, people who've been voting regularly for a long period of time. So there's been something quite odd about the voter rolls this time as well. And I think had that been sorted, we would have seen an even higher turnout.
But you are therefore happy with 52% in Mumbai? Do you believe that's a respectable number?
Well, certainly better than 39%. So I'm sure it could, I would have been much happier with something in the 60s or 70s. But I think we will get there.
All right, let me take that question to filmmaker Kunal Kohli, who joins us. Mr. Kohli, you were tweeting, in fact, through the day. You seemed almost anguished when you saw that the voter turnout in the city wasn't quite great. Frankly, that's what many people saw throughout the day. It wasn't very good and seems to have picked up much later. Are you happy with 52%? What do you think?
No, not at all. I think 52% is very shameful. And I think for a city that is so highly educated and for a city that is so vocal when anything happens in the country, whether it's a terrorist attack or a rape or corruption, we are so vocal. But I think when it's when it's been time to vote, we've just proved that we are armchair activists, and we just sit and talk about it and we don't vote. And there's one more thing I'd like to talk about. I mean, there's a lot of talk about Bollywood not voting, and I know this question is going to come to me. And before it comes to me, what I'd like to say, and I'm not defending the people who haven't voted, but there is a bigger award show going on today. If you were to see the number of stars that have voted today, there are far bigger stars here who have voted. The Bachchans have voted, Shah Rukh has voted, Amir, Mr. Rishi Kapoor, Ranbir Kapoor, Prasoon Joshi, Gulzar, Farhan Akhtar, Zoya Akhtar. The number of people that have voted is phenomenal. And the percentage of Bollywood celebrities that have voted is far higher than in any other industry and any other trade. So I think everyone who's pointing fingers at Bollywood needs to look at themselves first and see why they haven't voted and why members of their fraternity and their industries haven't voted.
I completely agree with you, and I think the reason why many Bollywood stars often get flack is that many of those who are in Florida right now instead of here often do come on television and you know crib and you know attack the political system, and therefore I think their standing then as activists will come into question. But Kunal Kohli, why you say 52% is shameful, and those are strong words. Why is it 52% though?
People.
No, sure, but I completely agree with you. This is not about Bollywood. This is about the average Mumbaiker. But why do you think it's still at 52% then, despite all the the awareness drives, despite what seems to have definitely been a political awakening in this country, especially with this election, where every drawing room, every office, everyone is talking about politics today, and we seem to be a more politically aware country, especially in our cities in particular, and yet the voter turnout is 52%. What do you think explains that?
I just don't know, but I'm just embarrassed, and for the first time I'm embarrassed about my city. I'm always proud of Mumbai. I'm proud of my city. I love my city, but today I'm really upset and I'm really angry why people haven't come out to vote. I mean, we're the lowest from all the metros. When Bangalore was at 55%, everyone was tweeting and writing on Facebook. I mean, I think people should just stop talking on Twitter and Facebook anymore, because that's all they seem to be doing. They think by liking things on Facebook and by posting things on Twitter, that's good enough. I'm sorry, that's not good enough. And just passing the buck and blaming someone else and blaming other fraternities and saying, okay, this will not change, this will not change. It's really sad. And the reason why they haven't done it, I just cannot understand. I really thought, honestly, I thought Mumbai would have a 70+% turnout. Because the way everyone has been talking about it, the way everyone's been discussing it, it's just been everywhere you go, people are only discussing politics. But one thing I will say, I don't want to shout conspiracy theory here, but a lot of names have been missing. A lot of names, I mean, all the channels have been covering that story. You've been covering it. Meera Sanyal has just spoken about how a lot of entire buildings, families, lots of people's names have gone missing. That is something I think that really needs to be probed and really needs to be looked into as to why that has happened.
Can I add to that, Nidhi?
Yeah, no, Shaina, I did want to come to you next, because you heard two contrasting views there. Meera Sanyal is thrilled. She says it's really good that at least Mumbai saw an 11% jump. Kunal Kohli says he's embarrassed and that it is shameful that it was just at 52%. It should have touched 70. So Shaina, where do you stand? Do you believe that this is a good turnout for Mumbai?
See, clearly if you compare it to the last election, despite a 26-11 where people said they would come out and vote, it was hardly a 40% average. And considering we've upped ourselves 11%, it's considerably something that needs to be appreciated. However, if the 6 lakh voters who were out on the streets today, a lot of whom were terribly agitated, and as Meera was saying, I was all across the city too, there were so many people who were visibly angry at their names and their buildings disappearing from the electoral list. And that clearly raises a question on the Election Commission and the officials as to whether these were deliberately deleted, or whether it was some kind of a conspiracy, or for that matter, was it just an error. But if you add 6 lakh voters on an average to the voting percentage today, we would have easily touched a 62-63%. So I think that one needs to view it in totality, that people were out there, the educated class did want to vote, and the irony of the situation is that it was the people who live in these buildings and the affluent class that was actually missing. So one needs to also address that in totality, because if the city has made the effort and a conscious effort to be out there, it is extremely disappointing even if a single voter is not able to vote. We've known of governments which have fallen with one vote and which have been formed with one extra vote. So let's value every single citizen and every single vote. The Election Commission in most states has done a fabulous job. You've seen in states like Goa, which is so difficult to even commute, a 20% increase. So why not in Mumbai? But the question that does come to mind is whether this was some kind of a conspiracy in Maharashtra, because there's been a similar pattern in Nasik, in Thane, in Mumbai, in Pune. No, this is something that needs to be addressed.
That sounds like an excuse.
Seriously.
Honestly, this whole thing. Firstly, the percentages
I'd
will
like
be
to say something
they will
here
be
about the
calculated on the
election
basis of
commission.
those who have enrolled.
I appreciate and applaud the Mumbaikar for coming out.
Sure,
but we would have wanted even more.
I don't think you can say the
Why
voting
not-
percentage is
why not
low because of a
question the
conspiracy.
systems?
There,
Why
there are
not
names that are
question
missing from
systems?
voter rolls everywhere all the
I
time.
said we cannot
It's
rule
happened in
out
Delhi
a
as well.
conspiracy.
But I don't think 52%, is a conspiracy. Kunal wanted to come in, and then I'll come to Sanjay. Yes.
Yes, I just wanted to say, I don't know whether the election commission is to blame here or not, but I'd like to say one thing which I've never seen in all my years of living in Mumbai, that at 4 o'clock my doorbell rang and people from the election commission were there asking me had I voted, and they were going door to door, ringing doorbells, asking people to vote, which I think is fantastic on part of the election commission and shameful on part of Mumbaikars, that they had to actually ring doorbells and ask people that have you voted and have you not voted. So that does say a lot about the preparations that they've done, and that says a lot about all of us in Mumbai who didn't go and vote, because doorbells were being rung and people were being told, come on, please vote. That is embarrassing.
You think, Sanjay Jha, that maybe those who did come out in the last few hours to vote were embarrassed by the kind of commentary they were seeing on television and Twitter all day? Because Mumbai votes was trending pretty much most of the day. I think it's still the top trend right now. You think that's what at least pushed people out in the last couple of hours?
Nidhi, 55% of Mumbai's population lives in slums. I don't think everybody there is on Facebook or Twitter. Maybe some people did, but I don't think that's a majority story. I also believe that the comment made by Shaina from BJP is patently absurd. You can't really make statements against the election commission and create this whole order of a conspiracy theory. This has been a debate which has been going on since the election started. There has been a lot of bogus, electoral rolls that have been perhaps obliterated. Now, when you discuss percentages, it all depends on what your base is. Now, we've been reading that a lot of new, demography has entered into the voting because of the youngsters who have come in. Plus, a lot of, those electoral rolls that were possibly obsolete have been removed. Now, if the base has increased, and then the percentage has gone up from 41 to 52, I think Mumbaikars can feel very proud. I will disagree with Mr. Kohli when he's sounding so pessimistic about the city. It means that there is a definite and a very perceptible increase in absolute number of voters. But if the base has remained the same or perhaps has shrunk, then the percentage would possibly be meaningless. But we need to accept one thing about Mumbai. I mean, I think everybody on the panel is in Mumbai today, so I can say that we are not like Delhi. So you can't make the same comparison. This is a commercial capital. This is an entertainment capital. There is a political awareness for sure, at least amongst the youngsters. But end of day, I think to expect the same voter turnout that you get in Delhi, possibly not. But then you look at Bangalore, Nidhi. Even Bangalore, despite having very high-profile candidates campaigning, and you have had AAP party, which has definitely been a new player with a lot of media visibility, you expected a lot more. When I was returning back home, I've seen hoardings all over telling youngsters the future of this country is at your fingertips. There is one that says you spend hours in a shopping mall every week. Can you please spend 1 hour in a polling booth once in 5 years? So there has been a lot of positive campaign. And at 52%, I don't think Bombay needs to feel ashamed of itself. But yes, I mean, if it was higher, I think it would definitely be better.
But Sanjay Jha, Delhi once upon a time in the last election was 51%. We upped that to 65. Delhi wasn't exactly polling, numbers that was something to be proud of. And I'll take this to Kumar Ketkar, that Mr. Ketkar, when, of course, maybe it's unfair to compare Mumbai to a Chhattisgarh or a Jharkhand, but these are places where people defy threats, the prospect of violence, and come out in large numbers and vote. And it's in urban India, in places like Mumbai and Bangalore, I think we take that for granted. I mean, a lot of people just couldn't give a toss whether they voted or not.
Well, actually speaking, Mumbai cannot be compared with any other state or any other city, simply because Mumbai also defies death every day. About 10 people die every day on railway tracks. So it is not as if Mumbai is safe for life at all. But the point of percentages is, even if you had added those so-called 5 lakh people, percentages would not differ. Something like 1 crore people, 100 lakh people are in the list to be voted. Of that, 5 lakh people have perhaps not come, but that is because Mumbai is an extraordinarily mobile city and demographically radically changed in last few years, and therefore there is a distinct possibility of error, not only of election commission but even of the voters in not properly getting registered. So I don't think the less registration or less number of people appearing on the voter list is a problem at all. Now coming to the question of 52% good or bad, of course it would have been always better if there were more, but 52% is not bad. As I said, from 40% to 52%, even in the most cynical and indifferent South Mumbai, they have voted up to 52%. Well, one can thank Meera and her party for that, one can thank Modi for that, but also I must say that we must thank anti-Modi campaigners also for that. Because many people came out to vote against Modi, and that also increased 11%. If everybody thinks that all this additional 10% is only because of the so-called Modi wave, well, Mumbai is also not Varanasi. People came out to vote against Modi, and that also increased the voting percentage.
Okay, that's an interesting take, because I pretty much put it down to either the AAP factor, maybe in a couple of constituencies, and then the Modi wave. You're saying it's an anti-Modi wave. You're largely attributing it to that?
Why don't you attribute it to the Modi wave?
I'm not saying anti-Modi wave. I am saying that anti-Modi factor.
No, if at all it is the Modi wave.
Perhaps as important as the... Just
okay.
Because, you know, no, one point. Nidhi, I have to complete this point.
Yeah.
If it was a Modi wave,
Mr. Ketkar will always propagate.
If it was a Modi wave, between 7 o'clock in the morning and 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the voting percentage did not go beyond 35%. All cameras have shown, all channels have shown that the majority of the people standing in the queue were middle-aged or old. The young people were not there. So to say that all young people were...
Trust me, 16th of May will be a
China, I'll come to you.
By Modi, if all the young people were impressed by the Facebook, Twitter campaign and digital media campaign of great Modi the Messiah, I think that myth has exploded completely.
Okay, so I'm going to take that to China, because now we're coming to the interesting part about why this 11% jump. So, of course, China, you're going to say it's completely a Modi wave, but Kumar Ketkar has a point there. Wouldn't we have then seen maybe a bigger surge in the voting percentages? Especially since Mr. Modi is apparently connecting to the urban middle class youth of this country.
Also substantial. Nidhi, the fact that you have seen 11% rise is also substantial, and please do understand that when people do come out with in such large numbers, they come out for a positive change, and they want a change. They want good governance. They want stability. If they want stability, they are not going to go for regional parties. If they want to fight corruption, they are not going to go for the corrupt government in power. If they want mandate on leadership, they are going to go for somebody who's strong and who's going to take the country forward. By that logic itself, if one wants to analyze what one wants to attribute this number, it is clearly for the charisma of Narendra Modi and the developmental politics that he has only discussed. Mumbai is a city that believes in progress. It is not bothered about pseudo-secular and secular, communal and non-communal. It is bothered about the real issues of why haven't we got enough infrastructure projects, why haven't we gotten rid of
So why wasn't the percentage higher then?
Where is the employment creation? What are all the attributes to us? So I think that in that sense, people have come out to say that this is the person we trust, and we clearly want Modi ji as the Prime Minister of this country, and that is the reason we are taking this extra effort in a city that has normally not reacted in this fashion.
Okay.
And that's why I cite the example of 2611. Despite the big hue and cry, there was no conviction that this is the person who can bring about the change.
Okay, Kumar Ketkar wants to respond to you, Shaina.
Attributed to Narendra Modi.
Okay, Kumar Ketkar. Isn't it remarkable though that a city, she has a point, a city that was completely comatose after 2611 did come out. 11% is a lot. What can you wave off the impact of Narendra Modi here?
No, I am not saying it is not Modi impact at all, but I am saying perhaps more or equal anti-Modi impact. And moreover, voting against Modi is a positive voting. She says positive voting means only voting for Modi. That's completely wrong. Moreover, if people were concerned with development and anti-corruption movement and all the factors promoted by Modi, it should have been 75% voting in Mumbai. It is not. 52% from 75 is something hugely small voting. And therefore, I think it was anti-Modi voting, pro-Modi voting, pro-AAP voting, because all these three issues are important. Everybody talks as if Modi is the only Messiah here, and that has been convincingly disproved.
Okay, Meera Sanyal, you've been listening to this patiently, and are you going to say that it is the AAP factor? Kunal, one second.
May I just add something here?
Okay, Kunal first and then to Meera Sanyal, yes.
Yeah. What I'd like to say here is generally what the trend that has been seen is that anti-incumbency votes, people come out in larger numbers to vote when it's an anti-incumbent vote. That hasn't happened here. So I'd like to ask you as a channel and the other people on the panel, what exactly does an average vote like this mean? Does it mean anti-incumbency? Does it mean that they're voting for the party in power? Because if it was that they want serious change, like if the Mumbaikar wanted really major change, more numbers should have been out on the street. There have been more people coming out for protests than they have for voting. Okay, so now if that is the case, then obviously it's not for major change. Is it? So my question is this low voter turnout or average voter turnout not showing that the change that people are expecting or people are talking about? Or is it just a frustration that nothing will change whoever comes in?
Interesting
That's
question.
Even a big possibility which no one is talking about.
Interesting
that
question.
Maybe the people who haven't come in are just thinking that whoever comes to power, it will all be the same.